Your demons are way more dangerous than your competitors. You should not care about what your competitors are doing, but you most certainly should care about how well are you able to handle your dark side. How well can you handle the shadow, your fears, your inadequacies, your negativity, your pessimism that can curtail your chances of reaching the success you want in your life. And I have two good examples of true entrepreneurs who deal with negativity and dark side in a totally different manner. So they ended up in a totally different place. If you don't know who I am, I'm Leon Castillo, founder of Selfmastered. I've been in finance for most of my life. I co-founded a couple of funds, one venture capital, one private equity, and now I have this 7-figure training company for online entrepreneurs just like you. So the first example I want to talk about is Billy McFarland, who was a founder of Fire Festival. In the spring of 2017, there was an event that was going to take place in the Bahamas in a paradise island with A-list celebrities, gourmet dining, a lot of fancy VIP attendees. Is going to be the event of a lifetime, but ended up being a massive scam because Billy overpromised to investors, to attendees, to everybody, to every stakeholder, and ended up creating a hype that he could not be able to sustain. He ended up selling what he did not have, ended up in jail for that. And my theory is that because he had this sense of ego, because he wanted to become the next big thing in music, because he did not know how to properly deal with his own negative thoughts, his inadequacies, his fears, he ended up creating a fake image of himself and embarking on a project he could not deliver on. So how he dealt with his demon was so bad that he ended up in jail because of it. And that's one side of the spectrum. The other side of the spectrum is one of my favorite billionaires, which is John-Paul DeJoria, a gentleman who co-founded John-Paul Mission Systems. It was a hairdressing products back in the 60s or 70s, I believe. And he has a very interesting story because he didn't find success, not success, but traction in his life, in his business life until his late 30s. Before that, he came from very humble beginnings. He faced homelessness. He lost a child. He was divorced twice. He was living in his car at some point. It was a terrible existence. And he had a lot of demons. He already talks about this in several interviews. He was not in a good place for most of his life. Internally thought he was never going to make it. But he remained committed to that vision. And he eventually overturned his life to the point of becoming a billionaire several times over. So how he faced his shadow, his negative side, his dark side is totally different of how Billy McFarland did it. Which leads me to the main point of this video. Your competitors do not matter as much as you think they do. Your own dark side matters much more. And you know this to be true because what would happen if you never self-sabotage? What would happen if you turn self-doubt into encouragement? What would happen if you could do the right thing every day, irrespective of your negative thoughts? You would be in a total different place in your life, wouldn't you? Which leads me to this idea. How you deal with your demons truly has a ripple effect in everything in your life, but most certainly in your business, because you do not have business problems. You have personal problems that are reflected on your business, and those personal problems stem from that dark side of you. In fact, when we work with clients, right, we always say, dude, you're going to be making 5 times more output per unit of input. So your product is going to shoot up 500%. You're going to be able to achieve your yearly goals in 3 months. And all of that is true. We always achieve it. But we do not start working with them on the execution side of things because that wouldn't work. When someone comes to us, they know they have massive potential that hasn't been captured. They don't know how to unlock it. So the first thing we need to do is to unlock that potential, to deal with that dark side, to truly transform. We'll do this over a month, transform the person, unlock that elite self, and then create new goals they can execute on. Without the transformation, there is no success. Success implies a transformation. What we do is we take 10 years of someone's life and compile it in like 4 months, right? And I'm going to walk you through exactly how we do it so you can apply it on your side of things. Now, ideally, you have external help for this because it is very hard to coach yourself and it's very hard to look raw at your inadequacies. External perspective is needed, either from a coach, from a mentors, or from a professional. But the idea is the following. First, elevate your self-awareness. And you can do this. There's several ways of doing it, but the goal is that you're able to see yourself from a slightly detached perspective and judge yourself objectively. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you like? What do you dislike? What do you love? What do you hate? Do a 360 assessment of who you are right now. And then step 2 is understand how do you end up being like this, because you are the product of your experiences. Your experiences were neutral to you. They just happened, but you decided to create meaning out of those experiences. So rooting what is the source of that meaning, it is paramount, because language, the stories that we tell ourselves, shape our life. So you are right now the product of all the stories that you have been telling yourself in the past. So in order to induce a transformation, you first need to understand who are you right now and how did you become this way. And the third step in this first very intensive month is to create a new life story, is to rework on the narrative so that the next 3 months of violent, consistent execution on one very important goal are the proof that you are on a heroic quest. Because what we do is we use an heroic psychological framework to propel our clients forward. So how you deal with your demons, that faulty narrative, that stories you tell yourself, the negativity, that pessimism, it is more important for your success than anything your competitors might be doing, especially in the online world, because in the online world, people buy who you are. And more importantly, they buy why you do what you do. So if you want to win, just be you. Nobody can win you at the game of being you. So just go out there and be you. And this is how you can help more people. By focusing on yourself, understanding how to truly take yourself to the next level, how to consistently become better. And if you are compounding positive feedback loops week after week, constantly and systematically addressing the negative side of yourself until you can clear that up, you will win. It is not the most intelligent who wins. It's always the most self-mastered. See you in the next video.